Shauna, babe, I found it. I found the deal of a lifetime. Oh my goodness. You're not going to believe this price. It's incredible. Well, I mean, it's 2,000 miles away, and I don't know how much time it'll take to go get that, and the miles, the gas, and then when we need it serviced, well, I don't know, babe. Maybe it's not such a good deal. Hello, all you happy campers. It's Jeremy Petros again, RVProTips.com. So glad that you've joined me and are taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn a little something about the RV industry from an RV professional. I am a personal professional RV outfitter in the RV industry with many years of experience, both as an RV outfitter as well as in management. I was a finance manager for years. So I know a thing or two about this industry, and it's my objective to try and take some of that experience, some of that active and current experience, and share it with you, the general population, the customer base that's out there who either owns an RV or is thinking about owning an RV or maybe thinking about getting a new RV. Whatever phase of life that you're in, I'm just hoping that you'll find this video both helpful, full of information, and as also, well, if I'm lucky, it might be just like moderately entertaining. But for the most part, I'm going for helpful and informative. That's my objective. So the topic of our conversation today is very near and dear to my heart, because one of the most frustrating things as an RV outfitter is sort of dealing with our with the ease of access to the national market. Now, it doesn't bother me that people can look and see what people in other states are selling their RVs for. That's not that big of a deal to me. It's really just the lack of connection to what the lifestyle is like, and thinking that you can go and purchase your coach thousands of miles away or even hundreds and hundreds of miles away and have that be a benefit to you in the long run. There's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work out that way over time. So I'm going to touch on this today point by point. First, I'm going to address the reasons why it doesn't make sense to you as the customer, what kind of an impact it makes on your life. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about why there are such differences from one particular region to another. Why can I go and buy an RV in, say, Florida, for example, or maybe Indiana, and have the pricing there on, say it's the same exact RV. Why would the pricing there be so drastically different, oftentimes thousands of dollars different, than another part of the country, like here in the state of Washington? I'm going to get into that with you, and we're going to go over these points, we're going to go over this information point by point in an effort to try and help educate you, the general population. So here we go. So here's the story. You're wanting to buy an RV. I don't care what it is. Travel trailer, fifth wheel, motorhome, whatever. You're trying to find the best deal, right? You're wanting, obviously, to keep as much money in your pocket as possible, get the best deal, and I get that. I understand. I'm a consumer. I buy a lot of things, and I also want the best deal possible. So I'm right there with you. But we have to remember that there's more to a purchase, especially when you're buying an RV. There's more to a purchase than just the price you pay. So let's get into that a little bit. So when you buy an RV, let's say that you are shopping around, you're looking all over the entire nation, you find an RV in Indiana. It's 1,000 miles, 1,500 miles away, 2,000 miles away, wherever it is from you in your particular part of the world. It's far away, and you notice that this RV that you can buy where you live is $5,000 or $6,000 or maybe $7,000 less if you're willing to go to Indiana to pick it up. So there's a few things you need to remember. The biggest one for you as a consumer is your time. Your time is valuable. Your time has a monetary value. Maybe you're retired and you can go do whatever you want to do, but most of us, a lot of us, aren't. So we have to take time off of work. Do we really want that to be our vacation time? Do we take that, precious week or two that we get each year and we go use it to buy an RV? I don't know. Does that really make sense? So there's a significant amount of time involved. So if you factor that in, it needs to have a monetary value assigned to it. What is your time worth to you? Is it worth it to you to take a week off to go pick up an RV to save $3,000 or $5,000? There's going to be a threshold where just the time equals a value to you. So time. So another issue that you have to factor in is the freight. There's a freight charge. So let's say you decide you're going to go buy a coach or whatever RV it is out of state, somewhere far away, and you're not going to go get it. You're not going to take your time and you're not going to go get it. You're going to pay somebody to go get it or pick it up and ship it to you. You're going to pay for your own freight, your own shipping, so to speak. Fine, you can do that, but I'm going to promise you it's going to be a lot more expensive than you think it is. On average, in the market right now, it's about $2 a mile to have something like a travel trailer or a fifth wheel or even a motorhome transported or delivered or picked up and brought from another state. There's factors involved there too. Do they have a load to take there, or are you paying for both ways, there and back? Because if they don't, if you're not piggybacking another delivery or another shipping situation, you're paying for both directions. You got to pay them to get there, you got to pay them to get back. So there's a lot of freight-oriented issues that you need to consider that are also a financial factor. And then the time it takes you to find out how much that freight is going to cost. If you decide to go get it yourself, motorhome, you're going to fly out. You got your airline tickets. You got hotel stays before you get the coach. There's a lot of factors there as well. If you drive out, you're going to put fuel in your vehicle. You're going to drive and put miles on your vehicle. You're going to go get it. Where is it? 500 miles, 1,000, 15, 2,000 miles away. You're going to go get it. That's a lot of fuel consumption on yours, mileage on your vehicle, time away from work, whatever, family, what have you. You're going to go get it, and then you're going to bring it back. So you've got your time, you've got freight, whether that be you paying somebody or your own freight. There's also a difference between what dealerships pay for freight. And we'll get into that when I start talking about the impacts on the dealership itself and why some dealerships seem to pay less than others. There's a reason for that. It has to do with geography, but we'll get to that. So your time, your freight. You also need to kind of keep in mind the tax, title, and licensing. So most out-of-state purchases make you do it yourself. Make you handle all of your DOL. So what you're doing is you're negotiating a price, or you're getting a price for a unit that you're going to go and buy in some other state. Then you're going to bring it back, and maybe you financed it. Maybe you're paying cash. I don't know. If you finance it, that's another thing that makes it difficult to do. If you're financing it out of state, super hard to do. But I can discuss that in more detail in another message or another video some other day. But just keep in mind that if you're going to finance it, it's going to make it a lot harder to go out of state. You won't be able to use credit unions in most cases because you got to be purchasing here locally, unless they're letting you do that, because it would have to be your own personal credit union. So there's a lot of complications around the tax, title, and licensing. Ultimately, it will, in most cases, it will cost you more when you get to the tax, title, and licensing part to do an out-of-state deal and then to come here and handle it yourself in-state. So tax, title, licensing, that's a cost to you that would normally be handled by your local dealership for you on your behalf. They do all the paperwork for you. Another really, really major risk associated with doing business with a dealership that's far, far from home, whether it could still be in-state, but several hundred miles from home. In most of these cases, it's hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from where you live. There's a risk involved. You don't know the history of that unit. In a lot of cases, you're buying maybe last year's model because the price is that good. So you're in 2023, but you're buying a 2022. That unit's probably been on the lot in the sun, thousands of people walking through it for a year. So you can't be really sure of the condition of that, even if it's new, let alone used, the risks associated with that. There's going to be a risk associated with you going all the way to a place, or even worse, having somebody ship it out for you and then it shows up, surprise! The fact of the matter is, there's a lot of risk when you don't go and see the unit and it's a local dealership. If you go there, you don't know for sure what the condition of the unit is. Did it have lot damage? Was it in a hailstorm? Was it in a snowstorm? Was it in a hurricane, a tornado? Was there damage done? Did they do an insurance claim and collect money on it, fix it in-house, patch it back together, and then selling it to you? In a lot of states don't require that they disclose that information. So you could be buying a coach that had $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 worth of damage done to it for some reason. A lot of times it's the roof from sitting out in the sun for a year and not being maintained, and yet you don't know about it, and they've just patched it back up and sold it to you. So again, there's risk associated. And then what are you going to do? You get back home, you're 1,000, 1,500 miles from the dealership. What are you going to do to them? I'm just telling you, now you're going to take the time and money to go after them for that, and probably going to lose. So there's a lot of risks associated with that side of the equation. There's also a tendency for a lot of dealerships not to disclose all of the fees that are associated with purchasing an RV. When you buy an RV, the RV has to go through a pre-delivery inspection. That costs the dealership money. They're paying a technician, they're paying the service department. Your average pre-delivery inspection is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500, depending on the type of coach you're buying. You know, whether it be a little travel trailer all the way up to a huge diesel pusher Class A motor coach. There's going to be a cost involved. Well, they usually don't advertise that online. So the price that you're seeing that's so sensational doesn't include the pre-delivery inspection, doesn't include propane, doesn't include, filling your tanks, doesn't include new batteries, doesn't include all the various things they have to do to prep a unit to actually deliver it. They're required, again, new for sure by the factory, to go through a pre-delivery inspection called PDI in order to activate the warranties, the factory warranties. They will not be active unless they do that PDI. And they have to charge the deal for that, whether you're seeing it or not. In the beginning, it doesn't matter. It's going to be there. It has to be there. It's required. So there's that. And then there's all kinds of other things that dealerships are notorious for slapping on, etching for theft control, or some sort of a sealant that they've already applied that they're going to charge you for, and you don't know it until you get there, and you're like, oh yeah, that was just for the RV, but we also did this sealant, and that's going to be another $2,000. So surprises. And what are you going to do? You've driven 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 miles, you're flown out, you bought a hotel. What are you going to do now? And they fling this on you, they pop this on you. What are you going to do? You put all this time, money, and effort into it, you're probably just going to end up doing the deal and leave angry. And then they're not going to care because they're not going there to get service anyway, because you can't. So again, all kinds of risks associated with that. And which brings me to where are you going to get it serviced? So I touched on this on another video, and I should probably spend a little more time on it here. But when you buy an RV from a dealership, they have an obligation to you, that dealer does, to service that coach. For sure, when it's brand new, they have to. By the factory sort of sets that standard that if you're gonna rep their product, you have to have a great service facility to service their customers who bought their product. So where are you gonna go get it serviced if you go to Florida and you live in Washington State? Where are you gonna go get it serviced? Because see, a dealership only has a finite amount of time, of shop time or shop hours that they can give the community. So the first department, or the first group of people who gets the shop time, is the sales department or the RV outfitters, because their coaches that are being moved through the pipeline here have to be serviced. So they're the majority of the business, and they're going to take up a lot of the time. And then all the people who take delivery of their coach, who bought a coach at that dealership, they're the priority. Those are our VIPs, right? Those are very important people that we have to take care of, that we have to service. So now that's the majority of the market. To get the folks who buy from the dealership in right away, they have to make sure they keep that time available, so that usually you can get in. If it's really important, within a few days, you can get that coach in, get it taken care of, so you get back out camping. If it's not that important, maybe it takes a few weeks. If you haven't purchased your RV there, if you did not buy your RV at the dealership that's close to home, you're going to be months out before you're able to get your coach in. And I don't care if it's new or covered under warranty, it won't matter. They just don't have the time, the manpower, the shop time to service you. You didn't buy it there. So you're then left to finding a third party or a non-dealer type of RV service department. There's just not that many of those out there. They're out there, but there's just not that many of them. So that puts you in a much smaller box that you have to then rely on when your coach needs service. And let's just face it, all RVs need service no matter what. None of them are perfect. None of them are going to be trouble-free. They just aren't. It's just not the nature of the beast. They're gonna need service. So just keep that in mind. And then last but not least, you're gonna find that most dealerships, especially a larger dealership that has, say, maybe multiple locations. Like in my case, I work for RV Country. RV Country has, I know for sure 12 locations, but we just buy, I think, 2 or 3 more. I wanna say we've got like 15 locations, especially if you include our show, our traveling show situation. The bottom line is this: you're gonna get benefits from your loyalty. It's just a fact. If you're a regular customer, they're gonna treat you different. It's a byproduct of human nature. When you frequent a particular business, that dealership, if they're a good group of people, they're gonna recognize that loyalty and they're gonna reward it. And the way that makes it into your life is that you're gonna get faster, better treatment. When something might be kind of on the fence as to whether or not it should be covered, they're gonna push harder and make sure that it gets covered. They're gonna just make sure you're taken care of. They're gonna work a lot harder, put a lot more heart and soul into getting you the kind of first-class service that you hope when you first bought your RV. So that's one thing. And then also when it comes time to trade. Now, you might decide to sell your coach on your own. That's fine, because that's how you'll get the most money for it. But maybe you don't have the time or energy or desire to do that. You just want to trade it in. If you bought the coach at a dealership, they're going to always give you more money where you bought it than if you were to go somewhere else. Especially if you're going out of state. If you're going out of state, you'll get what you get. But the fact of the matter is, if you bought something out of state and then you come back to that hometown dealership and you try to trade that unit in, you're not going to get any love whatsoever for that unit, because they're going to know. They're going to remember. They're going to remember, oh yeah, that's right, that guy shopped us. Oh, and then he used our numbers to get a better deal out of state. I mean, we've seen that as well. Super, super insulting for that to happen, but it happens. And that does not, and usually doesn't end very well in the long run, especially when it comes time to trade in your coach. So those are the items that impact the consumer very directly. Your time, your energy, the money, the travel time, the shipping, the handling, the freight, whatever you want to call it, where you're going to get it serviced, trade value down the road, repeat loyalty programs. There's a lot of reasons that money that you think you're saving suddenly isn't so much money at all. In fact, you can usually attach more than enough monetary value to just those items alone in order to justify paying whatever the market dictates in your particular part of the world. Now, that leads us, beautifully segued, into why are they so much different in different parts of the country, the world? It's very, very simple. There are key reasons why. The number one most obvious reason why is because the cost of doing business in one location will not be the same, in most cases, will not be the same as it is in another location. So as an example, the cost of the real estate, the lot itself, the building, the taxes, the state regulations, the real estate taxes. There's a lot of different things that go into the overhead. Labor costs, the manpower. How much do they have to pay people, or how much do people earn? What's the labor expenses here? It'll be different in different parts of the country, as you know. So yeah, the cost of overhead's a big one. I can promise you that a dealership located in the middle of the desert in Texas or Arizona or Nevada, literally out in the middle of nowhere, a giant plot of dirt, the cost of that real estate, the cost to purchase the real estate or lease the real estate or manage that real estate or maintain the real estate, the taxes on that real estate, the utilities, to feed that real estate, the insurance, it's going to be way, way lower there than it would be in, say, the state of Washington, in a prime location, right in the middle of a busy town on a freeway. Totally different, way different in terms of the expenses, okay? Overhead. The overhead's gigantically different. Is that even a word? Gigantically? So another big factor in the differences between one location and another is going to be the freight. So when a unit is built, and the biggest part of the RV industry comes out of Indiana, all right? So Indiana is like the RV capital of the world. That's where they build a lot of these RVs come out of there. Now there's other locations too. There's locations in California and Oregon and Washington and really all over the place. But the biggest one is in Indiana. That's where most of them come out of. You're going to find that if there's a dealership in Indiana, that dealership pays hardly any freight at all, maybe a few $100. Florida, because of how much volume goes down there and how big the RV industry is in Florida, while it's far away from Indiana, because of how much RV business goes to Florida, to and from, it's just cheaper to get a coach from Indiana to Florida. It just is. The mileage might be similar to some place where you live, but it'll often be cheaper when it goes into a very busy RV part of the world. A lot of that has to do with volume and other factors. All I know is that there is a massive difference as I look at competitive deals between the cost of freight, the cost to get a coach from where it was built to where it's going, depending on where you live in the country. Here in the state of Washington, we pay a lot. Our typical average freight, this is going to be staggering to some who don't know what this is, but the typical average freight is about $5,000. It could be $6,000 or $7,000, it can be $3,000 or $4,000, but the average cost of freight to get a new coach from where it was built to here is about $5,000. So there's a lot that goes into that, right? There's the fuel, the labor, the insurance, the taxes. There's a lot to that number. It's not just freight. There's a lot that packs that number and makes it what it is. But again, here in the state of Washington, that's pretty typical. So cost of freight is a big one. So another difference that can really be a factor when you're comparing different units is the way it was built. Now, some RVs are pretty standard, where they're all kind of built the same. Some brands. Other brands, like for example, Grand Design, which is the brand that I'm most proud to carry because it's the best I think in the world. Grand Design has many options that you can build into that coach. From being 4 seasons, sealing the underbelly, they call it the Arctic package. I don't know, I can't remember what Grand Design calls it, but they've got that 4-season package. They've got solar packages. They've got graphic packages and different kinds of furniture. So there can be literally thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in differences between the way one particular unit was built and another. A good example of why that might be a factor if you're shopping out of state is that if you're looking at a unit in, say, Arizona or Texas, they may not need the 4 seasons option down there, which can be thousands of dollars. So maybe that coach doesn't have it. I don't know. A lot of times the consumer isn't savvy enough to recognize the difference in the way a unit was built. They don't realize that, oh, this is cheaper because the MSRP on it is $5,000 less than the one that you're carrying. Well, that's because mine has a generator. That one doesn't. So you got to really look at what it is you're comparing. Make sure it's truly an apple and an apple as opposed to an apple and an orange. You've heard me say that before. So the different types of builds is a big factor. Another one that we don't really have a whole lot of control over either is the corporate forces that drive pricing as well. So sometimes it can be a regional thing. When you look at like a big company, say for example Thor, the largest manufacturer of RVs in the world, Thor, and I think they own Keystone now, and I think it used to be Thor, Keystone, and Forest River would be the top 3, or maybe sometimes Keystone and Forest River would trade places, but then Thor bought Keystone, and now they're the biggest. So anyway, those companies, a lot of what they do is driven by the most minute analysis of the numbers and where they can make the money. That's the downside to big corporate builders. Big corporate builders are penny pinchers like you've never seen. They will pinch every penny they can. So if they can shave a few $1,000 off of a batch of units being built for this region that they might not be able to shave off of this more northern region because maybe the climate's more extreme, they're going to do it. And you may not be able to tell the difference because it'll be under the skin. You won't be able to see it. So you need to understand that there can be differences between the way things are built when they're built for an area like a Florida or a Texas or Arizona or Nevada versus someplace more extreme like Washington, Oregon, North Dakota, something that deals with a lot more extreme weather in the sense of winters being colder and that sort of thing. So different regions can definitely play a significant factor in the pricing. And again, one last time, just to emphasize the importance of this, it is a huge benefit to you as a consumer to develop a relationship with a local dealership that's somewhere close enough where you could go there when you have problems, when you need help with something. There's a dollar figure that is attached to that. It's worth, in my experience, thousands of dollars, can be in some cases many thousands of dollars, to have a really good relationship with a local dealership, to be able to get in and get service within days, not months, to know that they're going to take care of you when you come back in and want to trade that in, give you maybe a better deal on the one you're buying, give you more money for your trade. There are reasons why that does matter. If you're so short-sighted that all you can see is, I can buy it in Florida for 50 grand, you want 56 grand, I'm going to Florida. If you're so short-sighted that you can't see that your $6,000 savings is going to end up costing you $10,000 in the long run, then I don't know what to tell you. The reality is, it will. It doesn't always make sense. It, in fact, rarely makes sense for you to be that guy, that gal, who takes the time and energy to go out of state when you could build a beautiful relationship, a wonderful, productive, and friendly relationship with a local RV dealership, somewhere close to home, close enough to where you can gain in the long run. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. I hope you've enjoyed the information. I hope this makes sense. Listen, if you disagree with anything I've said, or if you have questions about anything I've said, or don't maybe quite understand something I'm trying to tell you, drop it in the comments down below, man. I'm not afraid of conversation. I'm not afraid of controversy. I will gladly debate an issue with you. In fact, if you've got a really good point, maybe I'll make a counter video. Maybe I'll do an addendum to this video and add some points that I didn't think of. Maybe I'm wrong about something. I'm just sharing what has been my professional experience with years and years in the industry, hundreds, maybe thousands of people I've dealt with. I've experienced enough of this exact topic to be able to speak on it with some authority. But like I said, you got some thoughts, you got some issues with what I'm talking about, drop them in the comments down below. Let's have a conversation. I'm eager to have a conversation with you and to figure out what I can do better for you. At the same time, if you like this, if you like this content, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe, ding the bell so that I can, notify you, or YouTube will notify you when I upload a new video. And let's enjoy this journey together. Okay? Thanks for coming by, guys. Talk to you soon. Have a great day.